connection in a real way that really empowers your life. You don't want to feel like overwhelmed by what's going on over here. We want to feel that life is actually here to service us, to be able to serve our greater goals, our greater mission, which is to serve Hashem, Yisroach. Remember that we have that in mind in everything we're doing. It's not just some whatever journey. It's a very meaningful, purposeful experience. So that was the first three parshas of Shovavim with the Chazak from Parshas Bereshis, and now the Sefer Bereshis. Now we're bringing it in as we're continuing through this Sefer of Redemption, Sefer Exodus, movements of God's people. As we sang last week, we went into last week the public victory. We have to bring all that energy with us into going into public exposure to Parshas B'Shalach, a time to go out through the Yam Suf. We now become a nation. We become a people. We are clear with that Hashem, that God, the creator of the world, is constantly making miracles for us and guiding us through the desert, through our darkest moments, through our most difficult challenges. Excuse again the voice. We have the ability to sing. Imagine we can Az Yosher to really sing forth, and hopefully last week everyone had an uplifted Tu B'Shvat. Thank God mine was beautiful at home, and I have a big appreciation, gratitude towards my soulmate, and I put that in the post below. If you always check the details, there's a beautiful podcast, a Relationship Flow podcast about gratitude. And please God, this week's going to be about integrity and listening. It's going to be really clear to you by the end of this class how important it is to really listen carefully. And I do think even without the Wi-Fi, I think we're getting a live feed, and we have to thank Hashem that it's working. We got the Breslev Israel podcast, and please God, we're growing the SoundCloud all amount of classes already. We're putting up firstly the Emuna class, QA class from Rav Shalom Arush, our host, and we're slowly getting all the classes up onto SoundCloud as well. So we're going to be on all audio platforms as much as we can, and it's really important. Someone's writing, selfish egoist. Yes, so how do we get rid of the ego? That's a good point. So we're going to talk about that today, and it's really a key to really being able to go public. You have to, that is a big part of it. You have to sort of remove the ego in the mission of what you're trying to do. So the first things first, we started off with going public last week with the importance of win-win, of really wanting others to succeed. That's the Torah from Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nosson, Breslev, the idea of going ahead and really wanting your students, your fellow students, your other colleagues, your family, your friends to really succeed in their mission. We want all the rabbis out there to be successful, all the different organizations. We have to really pray for that reality. And as Rav Arush said, only through Aspodidus, only through checking ourselves. He spoke about this last night. There's a seventh Emuna exercise. Only by checking ourselves can we really make sure that we're really wanting other people to succeed. It takes a lot of inner work, a lot of prayer, a lot of development, and then we have the power during this Parshas B'Shalach and now heading into Yisro, Parshas Yisro. What a time. We had a beautiful Ger Tzedek here last night. Yosef Zanil, he is the front cover of this week of our posters of our Emuna class, and we have the chizuk from Yosef Zanil, a Ger Tzedek, to bring us that light, that music, that energy, that inspiration. He came to our people, he came to the Torah Kadosh, he came to, like Yisro, he came and heard, and he was able to see how the oneness, how the Hashgacha Pratis, the divine flow, the serendipity, that everything has a connection and everything has a oneness, and that all the miracles that Hashem is doing for the Jewish people and the world is for a purpose. It's not whatever. So then he came and heard. That's the perfect way to receive the Torah, through that humility. And that's how it goes together with Moshe Rabbeinu, who's the leader to help us receive the Torah, and also the ability to receive has a very big power and connection to what we're going to discuss today, of being integral and to really listen, and that will bring us to peace. Because one of the most important parts of Kabbalas Torah, of receiving the Torah, was that there was unity. We talked about a lot here, United Souls and working together. I have my Unity projects. We're talking a lot about the United Souls collaboration album that we put out already, number 1, and we have number 2, that we're requesting more songs. We already have 3 or 4 songs. We'd like to have another few more. And we have United Souls Key we spoke about already. The idea that through the music platform we can create a project of unity through music. That was one of my dreams, one of my goals in life. We also have the ability to bring unity through Emuna. The Rav said, without Emuna, there is no unity. Without having the ability to believe in Hashem, in a true, intrinsic deep way, how can you unify with other people? If you don't understand you have a soul, and how everything comes when it's supposed to come, and how all your panasa, all your money, all your income, all your business, all your family, all the people that come to you, the fact the Wi-Fi wasn't here and yet the class still works. This is all divine providence. And to understand how when you have Emuna, then you don't have to get upset with anyone. You can go ahead and do your class. And that's really, really important. Whatever you're doing your mission in front of you right now, this moment, that Hashem has given you this gift of life, this moment, during a coronavirus challenge year, where people are freaking out. You have the ability with Emuna, as the Rav says, Emuna or Meshuga, Emuna or Gehenim, you have the ability of Emuna to really keep yourself focused on what your goal is. And that is firstly what we spoke about with win-win and wanting other people to succeed. Now we're going to understand a really profound statement. And Stephen Covey, thank God, is the guide from the general world of being able to really seek to understand. First listen and seek to understand something before trying to be understood. To really learn how to listen. And this is something which on all our Emuna classes, everyone, including myself, has to do, because I'm listening to you guys, your feedback. I'm giving you that opportunity to communicate live and to collaborate, and the opportunity to go global, that we should be able to listen to really what people want. And we're not talking just about democracy or politics or that kind of listening of doing what people tell you, but to actually really listen to the soul level. And as our friend here mentioned, you have to remove the ego to do that. You have to be able to remove the blocks and the emotional blocks, and you have to do the inner work, as Rav Arush was talking about yesterday, through his bonus, if you're Chabad or whatever path you're on, to be able to focus on Hashem's greatness and the love of Hashem, whatever way it works for you, mindfulness, everyone has different, or mindlessness, to get rid of the mind, to be able to basically empty yourself on some level and to really listen to the other person. And that will go with your wife, your soulmate, your husband, that will go with your children, that will go when you're teaching, that will go when you're in business meetings, every situation, in order to really win-win, to really synergize, as we'll get to in the next week, to really join together and have that lev echad, ish echad, to really become one heart, one people, one humanity. We have to be able to really listen. And this is something, obviously, with the media narrative out there which has gone completely haywire. And if you listen to Peter Sanatello, how he talked about the US and the good things and the not good things, you'll see over there that he explained it very cleverly. And I have to say, I was very impressed from his way of explaining it. And also all the people that come, like Nissim Black and people that have come, who are Gerim, who've come to the Jewish people, how they explain their experience, that it's very important to understand and be able to really listen. There are people who've listened, like Yisro. They've listened and they've understood on a deep level what the message is out there, and how the media is no longer listening. It's just giving you a narrative. It's just feeding you what they want you to hear. And they themselves need to check themselves, because they're not even listening anymore to what they're saying. They're not even listening just go to Ben Shapiro. I'm not getting political, but just go to his podcast and listen to how he explains how much everything has become filled with lies these days. It's no longer authentic when you hear media content. It's like so obvious. You can just take even like a week before, even sometimes even on the same day, is lacking authenticity. It's lacking integrity. And that was a big thing which, when I went back through the SoundCloud into our past classes that we put up, and when Nissim Black was here with Ben Blackwell, one of our guests, and Nissim mentioned what brought him to Hashem and the Jewish people and to these concepts of Torah and that Yisro, that listening. What was that power that brought him in? He looked at Tanakh and he saw the integrity. That was the word he used. The integrity in the relationship between the Jewish people and Hashem, that it's eternal. And that in itself is a statement of the miraculous nature of the Torah and the miraculous nature of the Jewish people and the miraculous nature of this world for all of humanity, that we all have ability to tap into the soul level, and that soul level is eternal, that nothing can ever destroy that. That is the proof of the Holocaust and everything. All the tragedies and all of history have proven that the soul level can never be destroyed. The soul level is eternal, and that's what drew Nissim Black to go on his own journey to finding his soul and being part of the teachings of Shalom Arush and the general Torah concepts. But that's the same with Yosef Daniel and his music, his ability to communicate, and same with Nissim Black with his music and our other musical guests. There's a certain soulful connection that all of them share, and that soulful connection is eternal. That soulful experience that you've been listening to on these classes, these messages of truth, these are eternal messages, and no one can take that away. No one can really fight that. That's one of the reasons I think that right now, while we're still in exile, this isn't getting like a massive, like thousands of people tuning in, because it's such a delicate light. It's a very true light, and at the same time it's a very strong and refined light that you have to really want it to be able to open yourself to it. And you have to remove a certain amount of ego. Sometimes it's through pain, sometimes it's through suffering. Personally, trying to teach children right now, they're at home a lot more, and the yeshivas aren't, and the programs aren't really teaching them like as much as they were. Thank God I have a few kids who are able to go, but some were prevented because of Corona and this and that. And the point is that it creates a lot of challenge on the ego, and you're trying to be able to be functional. I'm trying to get here and put up everything the best way. We have the Emuna class set up the best way, and the DHC set up in the best way, and all the other classes, and we're constantly trying to put out a lot of Emuna content that sometimes it feels, and right now the Wi-Fi went on the Facebook, but that's all good. We have the opportunity that with all these struggles to really remove the ego, to really take down a level of blockage that separates us from each other, and then that beautiful light of the soul can start to shine through, because you no longer have that need to become famous or powerful, or you have political agendas or any of that stuff. You're just totally there to be a sinor, as Rav Arush and other tzaddikim have mentioned, to be just this pipeline for the light of Hashem, because Hashem is constantly creating the world, and everything is surrounding us truly as light. If even scientifically now, if you go on a scientific level, you'd understand that what's happened on Har Sinai is constantly happening. That Hashem's constantly revealing himself on a daily level. Well, how do you see it in science? Because really, if you go down to the smallest atom, there really is just this endless empty space. What is that space? What is that light? As it says, Avir, if you go to the word Avir in the Tanya, in the Kuti Torah, and Torah Or, in the beautiful Svarim of the Balatanya, he says over there that Avir has in it the letters of Or. Or is light. The air, the letters of air in Hebrew in the Holy Tongue, has in it the letters of light. Or. Aleph, Vav, Resh. This light that's really inside all the air, in all this empty space that's really binding everything together. This light is part of that eternal light, that Ein Sof Kiddush Baruch Hu, this eternal, endless light that really binds through all of creation. And the more a person understands Ein Mod Mavado is not just some nice meditation to think about once in a while, but it's actually the reality. That's the true reality. And everything else is bottled, is nullified to that. That's what happened at Har Sinai. That's what happened when we received the Torah, Kabbalas Torah. There was Hashem revealed the 10 commandments, it's hard to say commandments, it's not really what, the 10 emanations from Hashem to guide the world to a place of completion. We have 10 fingers on our hands, everybody. He's guiding us towards a completion, a way of becoming Adam Elyon, to become a elevated human being experience. And that's the kind of revelation Hashem was bringing to us, and it's constantly doing it. It's not just this week's Parshat, we read about it, and then we have Shavuos, these are just things in time. It's an actual experience that's happening on the soul level with all its manifestation on a daily level. And all we have to do is just allow ourselves to experience it. Yes. And that's the ability here. He said here, someone wrote, that every day a person has the ability to become like the Baal Shem Tov. So, and if they do tshuva, what's the point of telling that? Why did Hashem tell us? Why did Rav Arush, who is communicating from Hashem in a way, communicating us that we can have such high levels? But the truth is, yes, through speaking to Hashem, everyone can have that relationship that the Baal Shem Tov himself had. Everyone can have that relationship that David HaMelech had, that Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, all the way, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David, Shlomo, and all our holy mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. We all have that power within us to communicate to Hashem. We're part of that godliness, that oneness, that relationship that was so intense all the way back into our DNA, to our inner level of who we are as a people, and how we can then shine that globally. We have that ability. So when you look out there and you see, for example, the Jewish people, let's just be honest, they seem to be very far from these concepts, from Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and from this beautiful Kabbalas Torah. People don't really know what the Torah is, and the way the media portrays is all this infighting and a lack of unity. So then we realize that we're not really listening to the inner voice. We're being guided by a media, or being guided by all kinds of different movements and agendas, instead of the inner voice. The inner voice wants unification. The inner voice wants people to be kind and giving and have morals and values. The inner voice wants to be able to become one with their spouse, and wants to be able to bring beautiful children into the world and have the ability and the patience. And that's something we have to pray for a lot. The patience right now to really listen to what they want, to our children, to really what they're getting at. When they're playing up, there's actually underneath a beautiful voice of a soul trying to connect to the parents and needing that attention. And rather than reacting, as which I sometimes do, we have to learn, and I'm human, so I have my ups and downs. We have to learn how to really connect. And that's the beautiful concept. And this person here is writing again, Bainani become a tzaddik by doing tshuva. Yeah, so it's brought about in the Holy Sefer Tanya, and of course, and the Likutei Moharan is even, they call it Sefer Rishayim because it helps even the people furthest away connect to Hashem. But the concept is that we all have an ability to do tshuva, tshuv. That is the power of this 6 weeks Shovavim. That Hashem has given us a revelation during these 6 weeks of a journey out of all our limitations and all our problems and all our struggles and all our pain. And He's given us a path to guide us, a light through the darkness. Even in right now where the darkness seems so great. I thought that by the time we'd be by Parshat Yisro, we'd be out of this lockdown. That was my optimistic mind. But we're not. We're still in this lockdown, and it might continue even, God forbid, Mishpatim as well, the next Parshat, the climax of Shovavim, and then, God forbid, people are saying even Purim. We might have to still be in lockdown, which is, how can we have another Purim like last year where the whole Corona thing started and no one knew what was going on? And we're still dealing with this problem a year later. I mean, this happens to be my wife's birthday, Zayin Adar, and Purim. This is a special time that we're entering. Mishaniknas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. We have to enter this time with joy, and that tshuva has to be done with joy. We have to keep that optimistic mindset that I felt would be out of this lockdown. We have to keep that kind of mindset, and that's the kind of approach we need to deal with life. Not that, God forbid, we're going to end up in this situation permanently. This is just too will pass, as Shlomo Melech said. This is not an eternal situation of being in this lockdown, even though it is feeling very overwhelming. And I feel for all the people suffering health-wise, financially, and all these things. Hashem should give a full shlema, as we speak about the dedicate our class, and we should give healing, and everything should be good. But the point is that we're going into a new Zman, we're going into a new time, a new Chodesh, at the final month of the 12 months of the year. We began with Chodesh Nisan, the Yom Yoledet, the birthday of Rabbi Nachman, this whole energy of Ischadshus, of renewal that comes down when we get to Chodesh Nisan. But first we have to climax the year with Purim and Chodesh Adar, and we do it with joy. Mishaniknas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. We increase our joy. This is the month we're about to bless this Shabbos in Parshat Yisro, Shabbos V'Varachim Chodesh Adar, and we're going to bless, please God, this new month of Adar is a time of Adar Rava Deravin, when we really become more connected to godliness, even though we're so far away from the beginning of the year of Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So far, that initial renewal, we're so far from that clarification. That's the whole point. It was the last Geula in Golos that we had in written down in the Sefer Tanakh, was the Sefer Megillah, and that's the last one, Megillah in the Hester, where everything's covered up and hidden. And I'm learning with my son about how much there's such ability. When I'm learning Likutei Halakot with my oldest son, we're learning over there from Rabbi Nosson about how we have the power through the Megillah and through the mitzvahs coming up in Chodesh Adar, for all the special opportunities to connect ourselves to a higher force. We have the power to really fix up a lot of pagamim, a lot of things that are lacking. And that's a very important concept, that we can all do tshuva with love and joy and happiness, and have a return to our Creator, to return to ourselves. So important to be real with ourselves, to be honest with ourselves. And that's the ability, once we're listening and we're tuned into the soul level, and we've listened to the Torah, we've listened to this revelation of light coming out, Shabbos Yisro, Parshat Yisro, Kabbalah Torah. We're hearing that Hashem wants to reveal Himself to us through these 10 commandments, through the whole Torah Kedosha, through this holy Torah, this holy wisdom that He put into the world. And now the whole world, you go through all the podcasts out there, all the different thought leaders, there's so much values going on and on. I'm not going to list them all, but there's a whole long list of values and guides that are going on out there. And if you trace it back, it all has its source in the Torah, everything. All the good concepts of, say, for minimalism, I don't know how to say it for some reason, you guys help me, being more minimal, being able to minimize all your physical things. It's such a Torah concept. It's, the idea of precious from Gashmias, and even at Kabbalah Torah, we had to parish ourselves from being more physical. We had to extract ourselves from being more involved physically. That whole concept of minimalism. And then we have the whole concept of mindfulness. Obviously, we talked about it many times, meditation and spodiness and isbodiness. We have it all in the Torah Kadosh. And then every single great movement that's existing right now, and people are trying to find meaning, even the tarot cards, people are trying to find guidance and from this, these cards. And really inside every person has so much source of guidance, the intuition. There's such a soul presence. That all the different things that people are searching through and looking for inside each person, there's a tremendous power. So I'm asking you guys, as we end this class, to really listen. And I ask you to join me next week. I'm going to be doing a United Souls class, a course, and I ask you to sign up there. It's the links below in the Eventbrite. I need your support. I want it to go global, this concept of unity and Emuna. It needs to go into other spaces than just our own platform, what we have here. It needs to go out. You guys need to share it into your network, and you can sign up with me on that link below and join me in the ability to create more of an experience of United Souls online through learning the concepts, and we're going to talk very much more about synergization and what it means to really join with other souls and how we do work and how we do everything of family. It's something which I aspire for. It's not just something I'm teaching because it's interesting. It's something very fundamental right now, that we're being forced in a way to be at home with our family more, to be able to be less distracted. I was hoping by now I'd be organizing a whole Pesach program and this and that, and it's all been held up because Hashem wants us to be more internal, more together on an internal level. So as much of lack of unity we see outside in the world and all the narratives, the more we tune into the inner voice, that there's an inner will to connect, there's an inner will to have good values and to not be involved with that whole lack of unity, that lack of oneness, that lack of listening, that the dialogue should have real communication, that we really listen to the other person before we give our opinion. We really listen to the other person before we tell over what we intended to say. And that's something which all of us can do hard work on. Stephen Covey said it's the hardest thing to work on, the hardest habit that he put out there in his 7 habits. And I agree 100% for our generation to truly listen and to listen to the other person. Right now, people are writing things to listen before we write, before we post, before we put out stuff, to really understand the concepts. And once we've internalized, that's the internalization, with that integrity, that honesty, that truthfulness, that humility. We've internalized all these concepts of Emuna that we get from Rav Arush every week. And next week, we don't even know yet who the special guest is. It could be the Lighthouse Torah Project, we're hoping would join us. It could be Rabbi Green. There's a few options going on because we're doing Zoom instead of what we intended to have a musical guest, Shafaria, we've had to delay, unfortunately. But it's all good because I ask you guys, by collaborating and joining us, the guests will hopefully, whoever ends up being the final guest, and we'll put it out there by the end of the week. We'll promote it as always. You guys have the opportunity to share these classes, so it shouldn't just be me talking to you, but it should go to your friends, to your communities, to your groups online, wherever you are. And on Instagram, you can follow us and make sure that the Instagram page grows. Thank God it is growing. And you have the TikTok even, like I said, and the Emuna class. That someone even was motivated from my last class to make an Emuna TikTok. At 3 a.m, they put out another Emuna TikTok. So we have another person there putting out Emuna content on TikTok, which you never know, it can suddenly just go viral. We had a few ones that went to hundreds of thousands of people just for 1 minute, and hopefully they ended up following us from TikTok. A few people recently this week came to my WhatsApp from TikTok, and now they're on the WhatsApp group and they're watching the classes. So you never know exactly how you're going to reach to someone. The point is, everyone has the power now in their hands to use that technology and use the internet in a way that inspires the oneness, unity of our souls, and have a more Emuna experience in life, and to internalize, to listen to the message that Hashem's putting out there through the Torah and through this revelation that's happening on a daily level in our daily life, that Hashem is revealing on a daily level what our mission is, what our purpose is, all the different tools to guide us, all the different things to learn. Like by learning the Torah, we're hearing from Hashem himself what Hashem wants from us, and by us talking to Hashem and praying to Hashem, He's hearing from us. It's a relationship. It's a back and forth. It's not just Hashem pouring light on us, but we're communicating back and forth through for all the beautiful classes we have here. We're learning how to do that more and more, and that will create a real relationship that will bring us to that authentic lifestyle, that will bring us to integrity and true listening. And we should be zocha, please God, with a beautiful Shabbos and a beautiful Chodesh Adar. We should go into it with joy and unity and Emuna and all the good things that we're talking about in our classes. Share on. Thank you for joining us, and have a beautiful rest of the week and a beautiful Shabbos Chodesh. Amen.